Calling all authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast, hosted by Robert A. Lane, is on the air, featuring everything you need to know about narrating your own audiobook. But it doesn't stop there. From special guests, including authors and professionals from the book industry, to sharing tools and techniques needed to be a confident and compelling narrator. The journey starts now. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
Hey, my friends. Glad you're here for the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I am Robert A. Lane. I'm an audiobook coach and producer, and I specialize in helping authors like yourself narrate your own audiobook, especially if you're a nonfiction author, because I am a firm believer that all nonfiction authors need to narrate your own audiobook. You really do. You really do, because nobody can tell your story better than you. Period. They can't. We got a great show lined up for you today on the podcast. We're going to be talking about audiobook editing essentials, things that you need to do, things that you have to do that are crucial to creating an awesome audiobook. And so we're going to dive into that. I do want to mention that I do have an audiobook coaching program that is called Your Book, Your Voice. You can check it out at robertlanecoaching.com. But I mentioned this because we are going to talk about editing, which is part of what I do. But if you have ever considered about creating your audiobook, narrating your own audiobook, turning your book into an audiobook, which you should do, of course, because the audiobook market has been growing and expanding exponentially at such a great rate that you need to be part of that market. Absolutely, 100%. So there's two versions of my program. I'm going to dive into the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program at the end of the podcast, in more detail. But just to let you know, there are two versions of the program. There is the VIP program, where you do work with me one-on-one through the entire process, getting your audiobook done, recorded, and published. And then there is the DIY, the do-it-yourself version of the program, where you can get all the tools that you need to record, narrate, edit, and publish your audiobook properly, correctly the first time. All right, and you can do it. You absolutely can. If you, by the way, you're more than welcome to reach out to me if you like to find out more about what I do, about the audiobook world, talk about turning your book into an audiobook. You have any questions about it, reach out to me. You can at robertlanecoaching.com is the email, or better yet, book a call. Schedule a call with me. There is links there in the description, both on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and on the podcast platform that you're listening to the show on. Just look at the description. I have links there to book a call, and also links about the DIY program and the VIP program and other fun things as well. So check it out, book a call. Would love to hear from you and talk about your book and get you enrolled and turn that awesome book of yours into an audiobook. All right, so we're going to talk about audiobook editing, and that is really, really important because that is all part of the process. Creating an audiobook is a process. All right, the way I divide it up in my coaching program, which I'll share with you, is I call them chapters, right? Because we're talking about books, or I can say, there are the three main pillars of this program but I don't use that anymore. Right? I don't talk about say the three pillars because it sounds too coachy, right? So let's just say chapters, sections even, right? So the first section, of course, is setup and preparation. So this is just giving you an overview of what it takes to create an audiobook. There's setup and preparation. If you're recording your audiobook on your own, you can definitely set up your own recording space. That's not a problem. Getting a good microphone, good headphones, not cheapy $150 Yeti mics or whatever, cheapy mics. You got to get good stuff, remember, because you don't want to cut corners on your products. This is a product. What is the product for? The product is for you, because you are the author brand. You are the brand. Your ebook, your paperback, your hardcover, your audiobook, all that are your products. And you want to make sure that the products that you offer to your readers and your listeners are the best, most highest, not good English, is the highest quality products that you can put out there that represent you as the author. Okay, so you don't want to cut corners. So setup and preparation is one thing. The other thing I do talk about in the program, and this is something that you should definitely think about, is file management. Okay, make sure you label your audio files the way they should be labeled so they're easily identifiable. Have folders, specific folders that you're going to be putting your audio files in. So then that way you know where everything is. You don't want to lose anything. That's just it's just file management of your business. Really is what you're doing, and that's important. So this is all part of the first part of creating an audiobook. The second part, of course, is really diving into what it takes to do a great narration, how to be compelling and engaging, and being your true authentic self, because that's key. You got to be your true authentic self. You don't want to sound like somebody else. You don't want to try to act like somebody else. You want to be you, because that's what allows you to stand out in a crowd. And that's what makes you narrating your audiobook so great. All right. And then, of course, the next step is editing. And that's what we're going to be focusing on. Editing your audiobook, because every audiobook needs to go through the editing process. When you record your audiobook, you know, you are doing it in sections. Each part of your book is an audio file, a separate audio file. So, for example, if you have, let's say 20 chapters in your book, well, that's 20 separate audio files that you've created for your audiobook. And then all the other parts of your book, like your opening credits, your introduction, if you have a foreword, maybe a prologue, an epilogue, an afterword, dedication page, acknowledgments, ending credits, all that stuff, okay? Those are all separate audio files. And that's how you create your audiobook. So everything is recorded in pieces. Now, once you're recording your audiobook, again, you have to have it edited. So, and I get this asked, this question is asked by authors that I talk to, and they say, hey, why can't I just whip out voice memos on my phone and record my audiobook that way? Well, first of all, quality-wise, that's going to suffer. So you don't want to do that, right? Like I said, when you're setting up your studio, it has to be top-notch quality stuff, and you can do it, and it's not going to, cost you a arm and a leg, right? You spend a few $100s on getting some really good equipment, and you're good to go. And the beauty about having great equipment, by the way, not just only for recording your audiobook, but now you got some great stuff when you go on your podcast tour, because you're going to be promoting your audiobook and putting yourself out there, as you should. That should be part of your marketing plan. So now you have some great equipment to be on podcasts, and you're going to sound fantastic. Yep, you will. But I get that question asked. So why do I need to edit my audiobook? What's the whole point of that? Well, first of all, as you record your audiobook, you're going to have to clean it up, right? You're going to have to go back, and if there's a mouth noise that you can remove, you want to cut it out. If you're doing a narration, I'll grab my book here for a second. Here I have a book that I published called Lights Action You. You can grab that audiobook version on Amazon, on Audible, Amazon, and Apple, of course. But let's say I am, I'll just pull out a first paragraph of chapter 1 here in my book. And if you have a mouth noise, you want to remove it. So if you do something like, when I became inspired to write this book, right? You hear that, right? You don't want that in your audiobook, or any kind of weird mouth noises. So you go back and you edit. You cut those things out because you want to have it as clean as possible, all right? The other thing about going back and editing your audiobook, and you do need to do it with every file that you record, is, and this is so crucial, you have to make sure that your audiobook meets the exact specifications for publication. I can't tell you how many times that I've seen authors who, I'm just going to record this myself, and not really put much time or effort into getting good equipment and whatever, and not really paying attention to what these specifications are to get your audiobook published, especially on Audible, Amazon, and Apple. And those 3 distribution platforms are the 3 main ones you need to be on. You can be published on a whole bunch of different other platforms, and that's fine if that works for your marketing strategy. But I'll tell you this, if your audiobook does not meet the exact specifications, it's going to get rejected on all of those platforms. So it's so important. This is part of the editing process, is knowing what you need to do to make sure that your audio files meet those specifications, because you don't want to be rejected. I've shared this story before where I've worked with an author who had written several books, and he turned one into an audiobook before I worked with him. And he went to a studio that was supposed to be professional, recorded his audiobook, and he goes and tries to upload it, and Audible, Amazon, and Apple rejected it because it didn't meet the specifications. There were things wrong with the audio. And he had a heck of a time trying to fix it. He spent actually a lot of money trying to fix his audiobook so that it would get accepted and published. And finally, after a few months, he was able to do it. So when he signed up into the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program that I teach, and we talked about that, and I said, look, and he signed up for the VIP, which is great because I do all the work for him in regards to the editing and uploading for publication. And so I said, look, I'll guarantee that your audiobook gets published. It will. And we're going to do it right. We're going to do it right the first time. And because again, making sure that those specifications are met are crucial. If you're doing the do-it-yourself program, you will have the tools that you need to make sure that those specs are met. So you won't have to worry about it, okay? The other thing about editing is pacing and flow. That's important. If you go back and you're listening to your audiobook, let's say you record a chapter, you want to go back and listen. If you're rushing your sentences, maybe you have run-on sentences, blah, 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 right? You're going really, really fast. Well, maybe you need to slow that down a little bit. Maybe you need to insert some space, some silence in between sentences or in between paragraphs so it has a better flow to it. Not taking away from your authenticity. How you talk, how you present yourself, that's part of who you are as an author and your author brand. But, if you're rushing it and it makes it kind of awkward for the listener, because always keep the listener in mind. Always keep that as the end product. What is the listener going to experience when they hear this? And you want to make sure you give them the best experience, of course. So if you're rushing it, you may want to add some space in between sentences. Or maybe you're narrating it, it's excruciatingly slow. So you'll want to tighten it up, cut out some of that silence and tighten it up so there's a better flow to it. That's all part of the editing process. And this is why you do it, because you want it to be a great experience for the listener. All right. And one thing that I do want to share with you, a little tip here that I think will help you as you record your own audiobook. And yes, you can do it. Again, I'll talk about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program that I teach in just a little bit. But here's a tip that I tell the clients that go through my program, whether it's the VIP program or the do-it-yourself program. When you're recording, all right, especially for the DIY clients, keep editing in the back of your mind. Think about that. So when you're recording, you don't feel like, man, look at all the work I have to do for editing. So when you're thinking about editing in the back of your mind, it'll help you stay focused. The biggest piece of advice that I can give you when you're recording your audiobook is get the best, cleanest sounding recording that you possibly can. That means when you set up your recording space, you are in a space that's quiet with no distractions, that you can focus on the job at hand, and then it'll sound great. All right. You don't want to have weird ambient sounds in the background. If you hear your computer fan, if you hear the air conditioner or the heater kick in, if there's people in the house or apartment or maybe in the office that you're set up to do your audiobook, and you hear doors opening and doors closing and people talking in the background, or you have pets wandering around and you're hearing collars being shaken and little paws walking on hardwood floors, right? You don't want any of that extraneous sounds, ambient sounds getting into your audiobook narration. You can't have that, right? You want it as clean as possible. And the reason why I bring that up is, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in just a second, about the limitations of consumer software. So we're going to get into that in just a second. But another thing to think about when you're recording is you have a couple of options when it comes to narrating your audiobook. All right. So the first thing is you can record, and if you make a mistake, you can stop, go back, do your fix, and then continue on. That may work for you. Now, for some people, it may not. And the reason being is that if you are stopping and starting and stopping and starting and stopping and starting, that can interrupt the flow and pacing of your narration. And maybe it might even take away from the intangibles, right? What the intangibles are your energy, your emotion, those things that you bring to the table that you can't physically touch, but you emotionally feel. And when you stop and start and stop and start and stop and start, that can have an effect on that. Some people, it affects them. Some people, it doesn't. If you can narrate your book and keep that mental freshness and authenticity going and energy level and emotional level up, even though you're stopping, if you have to stop and make a fix, then that's great. Then that works fantastic. Okay. For those of you that maybe that doesn't quite work, you can record your audiobook. If you do make a mistake, you pause and you can say something like, I have my clients say pickup, and then do the sentence over or whatever had the mistake in, and then continue on. That way they're not stopping and starting. They know that there's a fix that needs to be made, and they record their chapter or whatever they're recording all at once, and then they go back and they do all the editing at one time. So it's recording all at once and then editing all at once. Okay, so that way it's two separate steps. Some people are comfortable doing it that way. So again, those are techniques that I do dive deeply into in the program that I teach, but that may help you in regards to recording. Now, I do want to talk about understanding the limitations of consumer software. There's a variety of consumer software out there, apps and things that you can download on your computer to use as recording software for your audiobook. Now, understand that these are consumer products, so there are going to be some limitations that you need to be aware of. So do your research. Pick a program that will work best for you for recording an audiobook. One thing to keep in mind is that if there is weird ambient stuff going around in the background, or a lot of echo or reverb, you don't want to sound like, you definitely don't set up your audiobook like it sounds like you're in a bathroom. That's not good. That's not going to sound good. Okay. So make sure that you're setting up your recording space in a place that's quiet and that's not too echoey like that, too bright. Okay. Because that echo, that reverb, a lot of these consumer programs can't remove that background noise without affecting your actual narration. Now, a professional editor has tools that are able to extract those extraneous sounds out from your narration without affecting the actual quality of what you narrated. And that's why you do hire an audio editor to do it, because they got these tools. But again, if you're doing it yourself, you still can not only narrate, but edit. You can still do the editing. Just when you're recording, just be aware. Just be aware of your ambient sound. Keep it as clean and the best recording that you can possibly have, because you don't have to worry about, wow, let's listen to all that echo in the background. I can't clean that out. All right, that's not good. So be aware of that. All right, you want to get the best recording up front, okay? And it is going to make cleaning up your audiobook when you go back and do the cleanup, or if you even are cleaning up as you go and fixing as you go, it's just going to make it so much easier. And it's going to save you a ton of time editing. And here's a little trick that you can do. When you're recording, let's say you make a mistake. If you aren't fixing as you go, let's say you do make a mistake, put a gap, put a nice silence gap. If you say pick up and you stop and if you make a mistake, pause for 2 to 3 seconds, then make the change or do the fix and then continue on. What that does is that it gives you a visual cue when you go back and you're looking at your audio, because you're going to see this waveform there. You're going to see this blank area, and that will tell you, oh, okay, that's where I need to go back and do my fix. It gives you a visual cue, so it's easier to find, which will save you some time. All right. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is uploading, because you need to upload your audiobook when it's done. And again, each audio file is a separate upload. Now, remember, if you don't meet the exact specifications for publication, especially if you're doing this yourself, when you upload it, you will be notified and it will tell you what the issues are. Some common things that happen, and sometimes it's just, a thing that people forget. You're recording your audiobook in mono. Let's say you did your next chapter in stereo. Well, either your audiobook is all mono or it's all stereo. You can't go back and forth. And that's one reason that your audio file will get rejected, because they'll say, hey, we got one mono file, we got one stereo channel file. That's not going to work. Another rejection, of course, is if your audio is too loud or if it's too soft. You got to make adjustments to make sure that it falls within those specifications. Like I mentioned earlier, you got to make sure that it meets the exact specifications for publication. All right, that's really, really important. And then you go back and you make those adjustments, but it'll tell you. All right, so these are just things to be aware of. Now, I do want to just touch on the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. These are all things that we do talk about in the program. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, there are two versions of the program. One is the VIP version, and that is where I walk with you. We work together one-on-one. I created the VIP program as a 12-week program where we work together. We meet every week, and I help you through the entire process. I provide you with the professional equipment that you need to record: professional microphone, headphones. That's all part of the program. That's yours to keep, okay? So, and then we talk about file management, how to set up your account for publication into Audible, Amazon, and Apple, and any other distribution platforms that you want to be on. We cover all that. And then, like I mentioned, file management. I can't hit that any harder. You got to have good file management. Then, of course, we do go over the techniques of what it takes to do a great audiobook narration. And again, I'm there with you every step of the way. And as you record your audiobook, I do all the editing for you. I do all the uploading for publication for you. You don't have to worry about that. The only thing you want to be concerned about is just doing a great audiobook narration. That's it. That's it. I'll do all the heavy lifting for you. That's the VIP program. If you want to take the bull by the horns and do the do-it-yourself program, that's great as well, because I designed this for you to be able to do it. And I created it to do it in 6 weeks. But it is do-it-yourself, so you can go at your own pace, all right? But be your own accountability partner, right? You don't want to have this drag on forever, right? You want to get it done. So, but I do have the do-it-yourself program, and it has all the video lessons and everything that I do take you step by step. And things that obviously I have lessons on are about editing and uploading your audio for publication, getting your audiobook published, et cetera, et cetera. Everything is there in the Do-It-Yourself program. So again, go to robertlanecoaching.com, and there are plenty of places there to book a call. And that's how I like to work with authors. Is you can enroll and start right away, especially for the Do-It-Yourself program. For the VIP, schedule a call. I'd love to talk with you about your book, all right? Oh, and one more thing that I do want to share with you is that I do have an audiobook narration reference guide. There are links, as I mentioned, here on LinkedIn and YouTube. And those of you listening to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform, in the description, there are all these links where you can get a free audiobook narration reference guide where I have some tools and techniques of things that will help you do a great audiobook narration. So grab yourself a free copy of that as well. All right. So again, audiobook editing essentials. These are essential. These are things that you do need to have before you are able to publish your audiobook. So remember, creating an audiobook is a process. It's a process. And you want to be able to create something that's awesome, that meets the exact specifications for publication so that you get published correctly the first time without any hassles. This is the way to do it. Editing is essential. Okay, editing is essential. So with that, make sure you turn your book into an audiobook, especially if you're a nonfiction author. Because no one can tell your story better than you. You lived it. You've breathed it. Now you've written about it. So take it to the next level and tell your story in your own voice, because nothing beats hearing you, the author, telling your story in your own voice, hearing it from the source, from the person who experienced it, who experienced your story. That's leaving a legacy. Leave your legacy. Leave your legacy for people to hear you tell your story. We got the technology to do it. So do it. It's a great thing. As I mentioned before, the audiobook world has been growing and expanding for several years now, and it continues to grow and expand. Make sure you tap into that market. You don't want to miss out. All right? Narrate your own audiobook. Reach out to me. If you want to find out more about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program, the VIP program, the DIY program, you reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you, right? robertlanecoaching.com. Book a call. It's that simple. All right, my friends, I'm going to wrap things up. My last assignment to you, of course, is when you're out and about in the world, smile at a stranger, say hello to them, because that small gesture of kindness can make the world a difference in somebody's life, and you can be a life changer. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're here. We do this live, by the way, for those of you listening to the replay. We do this live where you can participate in the podcast every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time on LinkedIn Live. You can catch it there, or you can go to my YouTube channel, right, Robert Lane Coaching. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any of these, and you can join in. All right. All right, my friends. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. You have a fantastic week, and we'll be talking to you on the Your Book, Your Voice podcast next week. Have a great, great day and a great, great week.
This has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode. And remember, only you can narrate your story the way it's meant to be heard.